On this computer. Thank you very much for joining us, Michelle. We're very excited to have you on the show. Let's start right at the very beginning. So you were telling us last night, when we were talking, that you started at a very young age. Give us a little rundown of when you started and how that was to get going.
Yeah, I probably started playing basketball when I was about 10, I think in grade 5 or 6, so elementary school. And I went to a really small elementary school. We didn't have enough girls and boys to make two teams, like a girls team and a boys team. So they actually combined us. And then nice enough now, I think, what a great city. All the elementary schools did that, even though the other schools probably could have fielded a boys team and a girls team. But we were small, so they wanted us to play and be involved, which is awesome, because I don't know if that would happen now if people would just be doing that, but they did. So yeah, so grade 5 and 6, it was always a mixed team. And then on to, or 5, 6, 7, I guess, because we were elementary schools to grade 7, and then junior high, 8, 9, 10. And I think, Terrace, BC, small town, 18,000 people, up north by about 6 hours north of Prince George. So yeah, I think I got really lucky, I think, with a group of girls that were around. We just happened to have a 4 or 5 year range where we had a lot of athletes. So it wasn't just me wanting to play. There was actually quite a few good athletes around. And I think that probably helped my early development. If I didn't have that group of girls to kind of play with for 5 years, who knows, right? It's always what would have happened. But I think I got really lucky, time and place. I mean, obviously I wanted to play because it was, it was fun. I liked it. I was tall. That was kind of the first thing.
Yeah. And
then, right, you're always the biggest kid out there. So you're like, okay, I'll play. But then I found I was pretty good at it, and I really liked it. And we're active family my my whole life, so it was sort of natural to just keep going into something, sort of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. So then you went to high school, and what was that like? Did you guys field competitive teams? How'd that go?
Yeah, again, I always think about that. I'm like, how come we got so good? But we had the 3 teams were Prince Rupert, Kitimat, and Terrace, right? We're on kind of like a the Tri-Cities kind of thing. So we're just playing those 3 teams, and sometimes you play different teams. You might go once to Vancouver for a tournament, but pretty much those 3 schools for 5 years. And it was always really competitive. And the other teams too, like Rupert and Kitimat, just had a good group of girls too. So we had good games. It wasn't just us running over people. But we went to provincials, and I always like it because we were the number one. We took down the number 1 team both years. So we're this little rinky-dink, right? Rinky-dink school from up north, the mismatched uniforms, and you just show up at provincials, right? With the big, I think Steveston was ranked my grade 11 year.
Oh, yeah, they were very good back then.
It was really good. And then my grade 12 year was Salmon Arm. And so both years we met them at provincials and beat them in the second round. And so, but then we never went further. I'm always we just used all our energy to beat the number 1 team. And then we were okay, we got nothing left, right? But yeah, I think it was pretty cool from a team from Terrace that gets to the, Final 4 of provincials. That hasn't happened yet again, I don't think. Really tough to get people to play now, I think. But I think I just got, it was a good group of girls, good group of circumstances where we had good competition sort of for my whole high school.
So your skills developed and you ended up at Simon. Tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, Simon Fraser. I love that place. That's such a family, right? We're 30 years out and I'm still it's my school. So Allison McNeill was our under 17 provincial team coach. So she had a whole bunch of us that year, grade 11, the summer going into grade 12. And I still hadn't decided where I wanted to go. It was I had gone on a couple of recruiting trips, but nothing was talking to me. You kind of go, and I'm a player and a person that's always been, if my gut is telling me to do it, I do it. I don't think a lot. I think about the decisions, but pretty much the decisions just get made for whatever reason. They're there. I don't agonize over these decisions, these big major ones. So Allison was coaching us in that summer, and then I phoned her after the provincials were done, and I think we were at the high school. It was a high school all-star game in Vancouver, and we were all sitting around, and Allison was just everybody here should be playing together on one team. And this is before she got the SFU job. And so I told her then, I said, I think I'm going to call you because I really don't know where I should go. What should I do? And then when I did call her, she says, well, I can't advise you anymore because I just got the head coaching job at SFU and I'm going to be recruiting you now. And I was like, done, decision made. Like I didn't even have to talk about any more about it. She told me who else was coming, and Andrea and Mary Lou and Heidi and all the freshmen that were coming. And I like literally got off the phone and was like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to Simon Fraser. And they're like, okay. Like it was that done, right? So
you're probably her favorite recruit she's ever had. That's the best.
It was awesome. It was the best though, because it was just the group that we had 8 freshmen that came in. 8 freshmen showed up on campus, and there was 3 seniors and a junior. And we were lucky we had those good seniors and junior too, because they kind of just, showed us the university way, right? We're all from different towns and showing up in Vancouver. And I think that was a really good, that I don't know if that would happen anymore, that 8 of the top players of BC are going to one university. I don't know if that's ever happened again either. But, circumstances, we were just all ready to go, and Allison got that job, and it just felt right, I think, for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have a lot more universities now, so 8 would definitely, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I talk to kids all the time about finding people that you enjoy playing with and then trying to extend that, finding a coach you can actually get along with and trying to extend that. And it's funny that you mentioned that you went with 8 people. What was it like knowing that these were your people? I mean, I would imagine they're your lifelong friends now after going to university with them.
Yeah, exactly.
4 years or 5 years back then?
4 years. 4 years. Yeah, NAIA. So we were NAIA. Yeah, 4 years.
4 years together. Tell us a little bit about that group.
Yeah, I think it was we were a core group together for those 4 years, right? And I think I said it last night a bit, is that when the whole thing about university, you're showing up somewhere you don't know anybody, but we already knew each other. We already knew the coach. So right away, I think our chemistry was huge. And I'm a big believer in chemistry is always more important than talent. You could throw a bunch of talented kids together, but if they don't like each other and they're not nice people, your team is going to implode. And I've just been, that's just been my belief and philosophy in every team I've ever gone to, from Simon Fraser to Europe, everywhere, and Canada. Like, it's just, if you surround yourself with good people and positive people, that just elevates you. And I think that's what we had at SFU, and that we had players that were good. We were good, but I think together and just our chemistry and how we treated each other and how we were around each other, I think that just made us a better team.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually looking at some of the stats while you were in university. One of them we briefly mentioned yesterday, was 70%. You shot 70% from the field, which I don't think is ever going to happen again.
Crazy, I know.
Yeah, I mean, you leave me at the hoop by myself, I'm not getting 70%. There has to be something that you did. Some of that's got to be natural. Some of it's got to be practice. Some of it's got to be a lot of effort. Tell us a little bit about what type of things you're working on to get it that high. I mean, and then the funny thing is, it's not like it was an outlier. You had another year you were just below that. So, I mean, clearly there's a pattern there. What type of things were you working on to make that happen?
I think in my day, like we're talking quite a few years ago, I think the game's evolved a lot. I don't know if it can happen now, because us, like, post players were still a big part of the game. They were a huge part of the game, that you are a post player and you're posting up and you're making a move and getting the ball. And I think one of my strengths was that I could, in hindsight, now I think about it, I'm like, why could I do that? And I'm like, because I could think about the game like 2 or 3 like plays ahead. So I knew where the ball was going to be, and I knew my positioning. I was really good at positioning myself, that all I had to do was like catch and shoot. So it was all the work before the ball got to me. And I always tell players now, we coach my son, and they're like 11, and they just run around, like run. And I'm like, just stop for a second. And I think that came easy. Like, I just knew how to do that, and would get told, and coaches would be like, you just got to see where do you need to be to get the best shot. And I'm like, well, if I stand here and the ball's over there, and then I duck in here, I'll get the ball, and all I do is like put it up. And I think that helped me, because I'm 6'1", 6'2", but I'm not bulky, I'm not huge, but I think I had to use just sort of knowledge of the game. And I think a lot of our practices at SFU were geared around like passing drills on pass in, not completely like individual stuff that I was doing, but a lot of 2-game passing. Where are you going to be? Where do you need to pass me the ball where I can score, or that kind of thing? And I don't know where it's at now. I just know the game has changed a lot. I miss the post play. I miss watching and seeing an actual person posting up, getting the ball, doing a move. Starting to come back a little bit, but I think that for me was a big part of the game, was just sort of seeing it as it was developing and getting to the spot before the defense. And then I'm just catching and shooting, and it's getting the layups, right? I wasn't shooting threes at university. That was later on in my career. That wasn't a big part of my game. But I think that's, yeah.
So give us a couple of the highlights you had from actually on the court. We'll do off the court right after, but let's go on the court highlights that you had from your university experience. Like, what were some of the things that you genuinely enjoyed?
I think, man, my freshman year, we didn't make nationals. We lost in the finals to Western Washington. So they were always our big rival. And I think for me, the best memory is that first year. It's a packed gym. And I mean, packed, like the wrestlers are out in kilts and cheering, right? Like, it's just this huge atmosphere that got created over our 4 years, and winning the first time. Like, this is the first time that SFU has ever gone to the nationals. And it was just those, knowing that you won and you're kind of a pioneer. You're like, oh, this is great. Like, SFU is going down in history. Even if we never do it again, like, we're going to nationals. And I think it kind of fed our fire. Like, when we lost the first one in my freshman year and our sophomore year, it was like, that is the only thing that will make us happy is going to nationals. Right. And I think when you're coming from a Canadian school and you're going down to the States, right? Nobody knew of this school that happened to be on Burnaby Mountain in Vancouver, right? SFU, they're like, what is this school? And I think that was really huge for us and women's basketball as well in the Lower Mainland and BC, to have a team and a group of women that were kind of starting to make women's basketball part of a thing and not just like an afterthought to the men's program, right?
Yeah, so absolutely. You were talking about yesterday having a lot of people come out to the games. I think that's something that started under Allison. Bruce has done a fantastic job of keeping it going. Simon they definitely draw the best out of anybody in BC that I've seen. So it definitely adds to the environment, and it adds to the experience that the kids get, having to participate, getting that participation from the fans and really making a difference. And when you have a big game, actually filling the gym a little bit. And that's something that I think is missing quite often, but when you can have it, it definitely makes a big difference for sure.
I think so. I think you feed off it. Any athlete knows you feed off the crowd and the energy, whether it's negative from people screaming at you that hate you, or the other way when everyone loves you, right? Like, you get it. Some of our best games were down in the States in these little gyms where it's just like rimmed with people and they're all screaming at you because they want their team to win, right? And just the atmosphere, I think, of these games were just a huge step for our team and me personally. Like, I think it fueled me. You just get so excited when you're like beating these teams that are supposed to beat you. Yeah. And that stems from my high school too, right? We're like some little team. We're not supposed to win, but somehow we figure out a way to win. And I think we did it at Simon Fraser too. And Allison was also, she's a winner. She's like, you're not losing. We are not losing. We are winning. And this is what we're going to do to win. And I think that helps us. And that was like my sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. We won 3 years in a row to go down to nationals. And we were ranked number 1 going into my senior year, right? Going into nationals, we're ranked number 1 in the country. And again, never happened before, right? So those are pretty big highlights for us, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Off the court, what did you graduate with?
I didn't graduate in my 4 years, so I went to play. SFU's kind of, if you cram your studies in, you can get done in 4 years. I did not, because I was doing 4 classes a semester. I ended up taking correspondence courses when that started afterwards. So I had a general studies degree, and then continued when I was in Spain when the whole internet blew up and you could take courses online. It's like, yeah, I can get more. So then I did correspondence courses and got degrees in health and fitness, and it was health and fitness and sports fitness. And then I did a after degree program at the U of A after I had kids and after I played for 20 years in Spain and Germany, and then did a teaching degree. So I've been a learner my whole life in basketball and in university. So. Fantastic.
Well, you know what that tells us? That tells us that, life it's not always a straight path. It got a little circle sometimes. And I think that's a big thing for the girls to understand is, you're not always going to get where you want to go right away. Sometimes you just got to keep putting the work in, and then it eventually works out. So that's a great story there. So you said you played 20 years pro.
I did.
That's a lot. That's got to be that's a BC record, I would imagine. I know Lanny Kramer played for quite a while.
Yeah, I played with her in Germany, so she got me my first job.
There you
She was,
go.
yeah, we played in Marburg together. So she got me my first job in Germany, and we played together for a couple years. Yeah, the years there.
So tell us about the experience. So where did you start? So you started there, and then where did we end up going?
And went on. I played 8 years in Germany. So I went like right after university. That's another thing for the girls to know. University's always there, and you should be doing, like, your studies are, like, I tell my kids, they are the most important. And I worked hard when I was there, but my basketball career is shorter. And so it was like, I need to go. And now I'm playing pro because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go, and that was my life. And I played for 8 years in Germany till 2000, and then switched over to Spain and played there for the rest of my career out there. And in between was playing with the national team, but off and on. And you talked about, like, this journey isn't straight. Well, mine is like this, and ups and valleys. And playing with the national team, I was cut twice from the national team during my professional career, and chasing that Olympic dream for like 15 years, right? It wasn't okay, I'm on the team and now I'm going to the Olympics. It was a tough grind, staying with basketball. And I think part of my message always is to kids is that you play because you love the game. It's not because coaches are telling you should, or parents are telling you should, or all of this. And it took me a long time to learn that, keep playing in Europe because I wanted to play, not because it was something else, right? That it was I love the game and I'm going to keep playing. And I think that's why it's 20 years. I was 36 when I retired, and it was a great career.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about playing on the national team. What was that like? I think you were talking about getting cut. Some of the best players we have on the national team have been cut. I've got, I think, all three of the people that we have that are on the national team now are not. Well, I guess Teresa's not on the team anymore, but they have stories about not making it originally. So tell us about that, and then tell us what it was like to actually make the team and what that experience was like.
I think, I started early. I was on a junior national team when I was 17. And then progressed to the senior national team kind of when I was like 18, 19. And even through all through university, I was on the senior national team. Didn't get a lot of playing time, but one of the things one of the players said to me once was like, you never get any playing time, but you're always the first one that is cheering and clapping and being really positive. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Sit and sulk at the end of the bench? Like, it's sort of like, isn't that what you're supposed to do? Like, cheer on your team. And I think that's my personality. I'm not a sulker. I get upset and I get mad and I'm really disappointed when things don't go my way. But I also see the journey. So I was on the national team till 93. So I just finished my first year professional and came back and tried out and had been on the team already for 4 years and then got cut. So that was a tough pill to swallow for me because I didn't know why. I was like, why aren't I good enough kind of thing. And I ended up taking a year and a half off of basketball because it was pretty devastating for me to be on a team for 4 years and then get told you're not good enough. We're going to replace you. And it was hard. It was not. I walked away for about a year and a half from basketball and just went back and finished my degree. I coached with Allison with the SFU team for a year, and sort of had to reevaluate, like, where do I want to go? What is that? It like you're kind of going, okay, I'm not playing ever again. And I think it was a lot of soul searching. Yes, I still played, but for fun. And I think maybe in that time I connected with my SFU teammates again. And we're now playing in the Vancouver League, like the fun league for women that are playing in. And I think it was there that I sort of refound my love for the game. I was like, yeah, it's not I'm not playing for the national team. I'm playing because I love the game. And then things always just sort of happen. And I got a call from my old team in Germany, like a year and a half when I was out, and they said I was still on the roster. So they never had taken me off the roster of the team. Therefore, I was still eligible to play, which is like, how does that happen? What are the odds that that's going to happen?
You tell him, like, just send the checks over too. I'll take the checks since you never took me off the team.
Exactly. I'm like, oh, I'm still being paid. This is awesome. So yeah, and he's like, do you want to come? It's a month and a half. We're in playoffs. And I'm like, done. I'm going. And then from then, I never looked back, and I played for the rest of the time in Germany and was leading the league in scoring and just, playing some of my best basketball, but not with the national team. So it was sort of one of those things that you're like, okay, well, what is important to me? And I think it was the game. And I'm playing basketball and they're paying me to play a game. It's ridiculous when you think about it. Like, it was amazing that someone was paying me. This is my job, is to play basketball. And then, so I got cut once in 93, and then I'm playing my best basketball, and I went back in 97. And Bev Smith had just gotten the job at being the new national team coach. And I thought, I'm in, right? Like, come on, how can I'm playing so great? And again, got cut from the team. So it's another, right? It's like you're going, oh man, sometimes I think about that and go, how did I ever like get over that one? And I just think it's the game. If you love it, you just keep going, right? You just keep going, and coaches are going to tell you you're not good enough, and people are going to tell you you're not good enough. But I think it's just your perseverance. Like, you just learn so much by, the failures. Everybody talks about that, right? You have to fail to be able to succeed. And it happened twice, and I'm like, okay, I'm never going to play the national team again. And then, like, it's so, I don't know why. And just in 97, I got cut. So then 2 years go by again, and the Olympics are coming up in 2000. And I'm like, it's now or never. Like 2000, I'm going to turn 30. And your dreams are, you're playing good basketball, but you're starting to see that possibly you're not going to be playing for much longer. And one of Shauna Molchak was playing with me in Germany. And she said, you should call Bev and you should talk to her because you should be on the team. And she was on the national team at the time. And I'm like, why would I? She already cut me 2 years ago. Why would I call her and say, hey, can I come back? Right? Like, why would I do that? But again, she's like, just do it. And I said, okay. And I just sort of swallowed my pride. And I talked to Bev and I said, it was probably one of the most adult conversations I've ever had with a coach as a 28-year-old, and saying, look, I love the game. I'm good at it. I think I can help you. Can I come and try out? Can I come to the tryout and see? And she's like, yep. And I said, I just want a fair tryout. I just want to go in. I want to play, and you judge me on what happens, right? And I think that's what any player always wants. Just watch. If I'm good for your team, I'm good for your team. If I'm not, then I tried, right? I never backed away from the challenges because I could have went in and got cut again. I mean, it happened twice before. So I think it just, I don't know, maybe I always say, maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment and just be like, let's just throw me out there again. But I made it in 99, and then I never looked back again and was on it for another 6 years. Right. So it was like a very, very disjointed national team journey. Like, I wasn't on it for 15 straight years or 20 straight years. Like, Kim, I'm going to call her Kim Smith because that's who she was when I played with her. Right. Yeah. Or Teresa too, right? Teresa and Kim were on it for these lengths of time, but mine was like a chunk here, a chunk here, a chunk here. And there's nothing wrong with that journey, because at the end, I still, like 2000, I'm one of those moments in your life when you're like, yes, you've made the team and you're going to the Olympics. It's like, I still remember it, right? It's almost disbelief when you think about somebody telling you that, because I've been waiting since 92. In my high school yearbook, that was my goal, to go to the 92 Olympics. And that didn't happen, and 96 never happened. And I'm like, okay, 2000, finally. Right. So I think, but that was my journey, I think. But it's being positive, I think, and believing in yourself. And I know sport is not easy, but I guess the highs are better than the lows. And so you do it because you love it.
Well, you definitely have to enjoy the highs, right? And that's something a lot of people forget. But you have to make sure you enjoy the highs, and it's not just the lows when it doesn't work out. I think some of the best advice I've heard in any of these things was your friend telling you that you got to call a coach and you got to actually have a conversation. I mean, I think I tell people that all the time, and it's such an important thing, not only in school, not only on your team with your coach, not only at work, but it's like in everything. If you can build a relationship with the people that oversee you, with the people that make the decisions that impact your life, your life's just going to be better regardless. Yeah. Like, no matter how it works, your life will be better. So, it's funny because she's giving you advice, but the advice is you need to get out of your comfort zone, make this phone call. And then the reward is not that Bev's life's going to be better, because she would have been fine without it. Your life's going to be better. Right. And so, one way or another, you would have had closure on it, and you ended up making the team. You get to go to the Olympics. Give us a little blurb about that. Where was the Olympics in 2000, and talk a little bit about what that experience was like.
Yeah, Sydney. That was the Sydney Olympics. So great place to go if you're going to pick an Olympics. Like, if you get to pick one, right? Go to one where everything's sort of set up and it's all English, right? And it was an awesome experience. So after, like, I've been playing pro for 10 years, and that was, I think, the pinnacle. And I think Teresa said it in her talk. It's like, I'm like her. I don't remember the games a lot, of my basketball career, but I remember the moments. And I remember that moment of standing in the tunnel and there's like, 100,000 people are in this stadium and you walk in and it's just, it's kind of one of those forgetful moments because you're in it and you're like, you want to soak everything in. And I think just the walking in on the Olympic for the opening ceremonies was one of the most spectacular things and the most emotional things that I've ever done, because it was sort of that culmination of everything that you've done. You start in grade 5, right? And you build. And I think that stage of playing against the best in the world is pretty amazing. And I'm 50 and I'm still talking about that moment, even though it was 20 years ago, right? You're still talking about these amazing moments that happened because of sport. And we didn't do that well. We didn't play that well. Like Canada was not at where they're at now. Like we probably lost way more games than we won as when I was on the national team. But you're never stopping, you're never giving up. And I think that Olympic experience for me was sort of that life lesson, right? Like you're getting punches, you're losing, but you're at the Olympics. So you need to wrap your head around the next game and get out there and compete because, you've got Canada across your chest and you're playing for that country kind of thing.
Absolutely. Let's go back to Europe. So you're playing in Europe. When you played there for 20 years, I'd imagine you'd be the best tour guide of European travel I've ever met in my life. What would be like one of the cooler spots that you really enjoyed? Did you have a go-to that you went outside of the two? Obviously Spain and Germany are very cool places. I've been in both and I've enjoyed both tremendously.
Yeah.
But from a life experience standpoint, getting out and seeing new things. It's one of the things we try to do with our club is get kids to experience different things. That you're there for 20 years. I'd imagine there's a lot of weekends where you're going away and checking something out. What was that like?
Well, not necessarily weekends because we're playing, but the end of the season. And I think I didn't take advantage of it. Not a regret, but I was like, I wish when I was there in my early 20s, I had taken more advantage of traveling, because you're done in April, May. And national team doesn't start till later, so you could have taken a lot of time. But towards the end of my career, we started taking weekend Christmas trips. We wouldn't go home. When I met my husband, we went to London for Christmas one year, and I'm like, we can just fly to London. Like it's just for 4 days. It's like crazy. Yeah. And looking at trips always like at the end of the season, where are we going to go? And we went to Greece one year, because my husband played for the U of A and he had a Greek teammate who had a hotel, like a bed and breakfast on Corfu. So we're like, let's go to Corfu, right? Like it's just all these opportunities that happen because you're in Europe. Probably one of my favorite, I played for FC Barcelona one year. So that's one of my favorite years of playing in Spain, was just being in Barcelona and being able to just live as a Spaniard in a city that I think one of my favorite cities in the whole entire world. Is there. And that was a big, after our game, and we on Sundays would be like, okay, where are we going today? And just be a tourist in your own town and trying to take in all those moments. And I think I didn't take advantage of it early enough. You're there for 20 years. I should have been able to see everything. But going to Prague was another one. That's a story with Lanny Kramer, that we drove all night. We were done our game and we drove with another teammate all night for I don't know how many hours, probably 15, 16 hours from our town in Germany to go to Prague for 4 days. And it's like, who does that? We were like, let's go. You just jump in the car and you got 4 days off. Where are we going? Right.
Love that.
So that was pretty cool that you get those opportunities.
You briefly mentioned about your husband. Tell us, where'd you guys meet? How'd that come about? And
yeah.
What was that? You guys both professional athletes. What was that like?
So he played in Portugal his first year and then was in Burgos. He got a job right after the Olympics. I think it was 2003 or 2. He knows the years better than I do. I'm like, it was somewhere in the 2000s. We played on the same club team. So Teresa Gabriel, we played in Burgos together, and he was on the men's team. So we met there, and there was an Australian that played on our team too. And we're the 4 English speaking people. So we just all hung out. And it's like, okay, what are we doing? Let's somebody would make dinner and we watch movies. And that was sort of our go-to hangouts, thing like that. So this is before all the cell phones and all the everything like that. So you had to, you made friends and you stayed in your community kind of thing.
Very cool.
Yeah, we met there and we've been married. I don't know. What are we still? We knew each other for 17 years. I think we've been married for 15. I don't know anymore.
Okay. It's worked out. Now, last thing, let's go back in time. Let's give young Michelle Hendry a little bit of advice. What are you telling young Michelle Hendry when, whatever, in high school and university, just something that she needed to know that she didn't know back then?
Oh, there's a good one. I think it's not to cry so much. I'm a very emotional person.
Didn't expect that one.
Any emotion that I have, anger, sadness, it's always crying, it's always tears. So just figure out a different way. But I think it's always to stay positive. I think it's and surround yourself with the positive people. I think when I was younger, there was always sometimes someone negative, and I wouldn't know how to deal with that. So it would get me down. And I think if I could have known that earlier, to be like, no, there's a negative person. You don't need to be around that person. That person doesn't need to influence how you are. And I think now I do that all the time. I don't have time for negativity. Life is too short. And in your basketball world, I think you can find the people that are like you, and it just makes your life, not just on court, but life more enjoyable. And I think had I known that earlier, some of my disappointments came because of negative athletes around me, and I think for the most part I was really lucky with who I could be surrounded with, whether they were there because I chose them or because a coach had recruited them. Allison was she recruited good people, and I think she knew that lesson really hard. And I think in high school, had I known that, it would have been you're always like, but I think that's the best thing, is just negative people are going to be around you. You don't need to listen to them.
You know what? I think that's huge. And I think in a day now where we have a lot of mental health concerns, and I think a lot of that is from people bringing negativity into every situation. I know for me personally, I can't take it either. Like it's been a huge focus for me. Like I got to go next play on everything. Like it's got to be next play, because if it's not next play, you're thinking about the past, you're thinking about worries in the future. Like you can't do that. It's got to be like, I got to lift everybody up. You got to lift me up. We're all going up. It's only up right now. And so I want to thank you for joining us. Obviously we had some technical difficulties yesterday. You persevered. You persevered. We made it through.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. We're gonna have all the girls give us a little write up on what they learned from this experience. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and hope you guys are doing great in Edmonton. And
we are.
Hopefully I'll see you one of these days in an SFU game.
Yeah, we'll come back. I know I always got to go back to one of the senior nights. I keep planning it. I'm like, we got to get in there. We got to get everybody together and everybody go to the same senior night so that we can all just kind of get together.
He's got a couple of good senior nights coming up, I think, soon. So it should be pretty good in the next couple of years. He's going to have some pretty good teams coming up. So
awesome. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Gladly.
Pleasure.
Talk soon, okay? Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.